You're listening to the Best of Investing on Talk 910. You know our show. It's where we present valuable information about real estate, the financial markets, and other economic business of the day. And for those of you listening for the first time, here's our format. A few guys sitting around a bar having drinks without the drinks, talking business with you, the audience listening in. I know, Mark, you're sad that we don't have the drinks
I was
today.
trying to hiccup there and for effect. But I missed it.
Oops, sorry about that. I'm your host, Edward Brown, and I'm pleased to have as my co-host Mark Hanf of Pacific Private Money, California's fastest growing private lender, and Rick Warder of Keller Williams Realty. Our phone number is 888-912-1190. Write that number down, 888-912-1190, because you're going to use that number to answer the trivia questions for 3 vacations given away during each commercial break. That's right, we're giving away 9 vacations during this show. Now, the vacations are not sponsored by the radio station, but by Lighthouse Resort and Marina, which is located 1 hour northeast of San Francisco. Vacations are free. They only request a $75 cleaning fee to cover housekeeping expenses. Their website is lighthouse4fun.com. You can reach them at 916-777-5511. Today's trivia theme is early U.S. history, and I want to give a little plug here to our special videographer, Kramer Herzog, whose video, Eye of the Storm, is playing in the International Film Festival in New Jersey, and he's recognized the best of investing in that film. So, of course, we got to plug him for that. Here you go, Mr. Kramer.
Yes.
Okay. Our website is bestofinvesting.com. Check us out on Facebook and YouTube by typing Best of Investing Radio Show. And we're also on television, Comcast Channel 26 and AT&T Channel 99 on Saturdays at noon and Sundays at 6 p.m. Now, today we have an extra special guest, Michael Croix, who is going to tell us why being behind on your credit card payments is a good thing. Michael, welcome to the Best of Investing.
Great, thanks for having me.
Okay. So that's an interesting headline, why being behind on your credit card payments is a good thing. Can you elaborate on that a bit, Michael?
Sure. So many people are familiar with debt settlement companies. And debt settlement companies, you'll see the ads on TV and radio. They tell you you can save up to 50% or more, right, of the amount of credit card debt that you owe. The reason they're able to promise that is that debt settlement companies basically tell you to, if you haven't already, to stop making your payments to your credit card. Now, if let's say you were a great customer, you had a credit card for 10 years, and you get laid off, or you're having some trouble making your payments. If you call them up and you haven't missed any payments yet, they're going to tell you a sympathetic no, that, sorry, there's nothing we can do. If you miss 1 or 2 payments, they're still not going to cut you a deal, because statistically speaking, they know that you'll probably bring your account current, and they're going to make some more money, in interest rate hikes and late fees and such. So it's only until you fall behind, say, 3, 4, 5 months that you really get their attention, and they're willing to make a deal, because again, they know, statistically speaking, those people that fall behind that far are less likely to catch up or even pay them back at all. So the general rule is the longer you withhold payment, the better settlement you're going to get.
And the more money you keep in your pocket temporarily.
And the more money you'll save, right? And so a lot of people, of course, when they do find themselves in a situation where there's an illness, death in the family, or they get laid off, they are unfortunately having to make some difficult choices. And, you have to keep a roof over your head and feed the kids. And so often credit cards are the last bills that get paid. And if you can't pay them all, you have to kind of play this game where, well, who am I going to pay? And, with the little money that I do have, or, some people don't even have money to pay them ever. And what I tell people is, look, there's a statute of limitations in every state after which credit card debt is no longer collectible. So not only do, the further you fall behind, the better settlement you're going to get, but eventually, if, they don't sue you and win and enforce the judgment before your statute of limitations expires, that debt, all of that debt might eventually.
Michael, what is the statute of limitations? Is it different state by state?
It does. It varies state by state. Typically, it's between 3 and 6 years. There are a couple states where it's 10.
Well, what's California? Because that's where most of our listeners are.
California, I don't know it off the top of my head. I
think it's
look it up.
4, if I'm not mistaken.
So, Michael, this sounds surprisingly similar to how to get your bank to negotiate with you if you're underwater on your home. They won't talk to you about short sales,
Modification.
or a loan modification until you're actually miss a few
Yeah,
payments.
except that my bank asked me for my shoe size because they wanted to find out how big cement they needed. And I don't like that bank.
So,
It's, by the way, guys, it's 4 years in California.
That's what I thought, 4 years. Not that I practiced not paying on my credit cards, but go ahead.
So Michael, Rick Warner here. So you're not advocating not paying credit card. You're saying, hey, if you're somebody who's in this position where you legitimately are in a bind one way or the other, that the more of a bind you're in, the later you wait to act, the more beneficial ultimately it's going to be if your ultimate goal is to greatly reduce this overall debt. Is that a fair statement?
That's right. That's right. And the reason, I have that headline is why it's a good thing is I think the hardest part for debt settlement or, getting out of this sort of situation is falling behind. It's very difficult. Most people, they're honest people and they're just bad things happen to good people and they're trying to do their best, right? And it's once you fall behind, your credit score takes a hit, you get hounded by debt collectors. And quite honestly, that's the hardest part about this process of debt settlement and debt relief. And if you already find yourself in that situation, I think you've already done the hardest part. Now the rest of it is really just understanding the business of debt collection, and we've been talking a little bit about that. But debt collectors, they're in a business just like any other. And the reason I created my program is, I wanted to teach people about the business of debt collection, to know their rights under federal law. Most people don't know their rights, and to empower them with information.
Well, Michael, I wanted to ask you because you had a statement on here about why very few debt collectors will ever take legal action against you, even if they threaten to. Why is that?
Right. Well, again, it goes back to the business of debt collection, right? So debt collectors can report negatives to your credit report, obviously. They can call, they write, and they can sue, okay? Reporting negatives, calling, and writing are relatively inexpensive and work on the vast majority of the population, right? But unless they sue you and win and enforce the judgment, there's very little they can do.
Yeah, and if I understand it correctly, if you pay, in order to toll the statute, if you have any correspondence with them or make a payment, then that extends the statute. Is that correct?
That's right. It resets the statute of limitations. So if you've fallen behind on your debt, I think it's best to simply save as much money as you can. Reach out to all your creditors and say, hey, I'm in a financial situation. I can't pay everybody back, but I have X amount of money, and I want to settle with whoever I can. So it puts them in a position where they're almost competing for your settlement. But I want to finish the point about why they don't sue. I mean, you can imagine as a group, people who default on their credit card debt don't have a lot of assets to go after, right? So very few, and in my experience, and in others, my other colleagues, we see somewhere between 10 and 20% of accounts receiving lawsuits if you were just to stop paying it.
And probably the larger ones, right? I mean, if somebody owes $20 to it, they're not going to probably sue that.
No, you would think so, but we haven't seen any relationship between the amount of debt and your likelihood to get sued. Where you live actually will affect that, and certain creditors are more likely to sue than others. But in general, and that's in my book as well. But in general, let's say you had 10 accounts, you can expect a lawsuit on 1 to 2 of them if you simply stop paying on all 10. And those that sue, they're looking for a quick default judgment or a quick summary judgment. So a default judgment is, let's say you got sued, you bury your head in the sand, you didn't do anything. That creditor, the court will rule in the creditor's favor, because up until the time that you're sued, your debt is considered an alleged debt in the eyes of the law. if they sue you and you don't defend yourself, then the court assumes it's a valid debt, and then of course you have a judgment against you, and with that judgment in hand, the creditor can, garnish wages, take money out of your bank account, and put liens on property. But we don't see that happening. Well, we don't see liens on property happening. What they're looking for is cash now, right? So they're going to try to find where you bank and, put a risk garnishment on your cash.
Michael?
They're going to try to garnish wages.
So we don't have a whole lot of time, but do we have time for one more quick question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, another thing that you talk about is, the debt collectors trampling on people's rights. Can you quickly give us, top 2 or 3, rights that people have that they should know, that they should be aware of?
Sure, absolutely. So within 30 days of initially contacting you, within 5 days of initially contacting you, they have to tell you that you have the right to dispute the debt. And I recommend that everybody do this simply because I can contact you and say you owe me money, and then I'm Discover Bank, but just because I say so doesn't make it true. They should have to verify and validate the debt, and unless and until they can, all collection activities have to stop, and all reporting activities to the credit bureaus have to stop. So that's the first thing people should do. The second thing they can do is they can send a simple letter asking them to not call, and it doesn't have to be anything other than that. They just have to send a certified mail return receipt, and if they continue to call, they just violated your rights. Now, if you want to go violation fishing and really understand your rights and try to actually get them to violate those rights, you can actually go on the offensive if those rights are violated. So they can't do things like call before 8 a.m. or after 9 p.m. They can't call friends, family, and state the purpose of their call. They can't call several times a day. They can't harass, intimidate you. It's just a laundry list of things that they can't do. So if they do violate your rights, you can actually, there's a nationwide network of attorneys who will basically sue on your behalf to get them to either back down or even zero out the account. So,
okay, Michael, thank you so much for joining us. And how you wrote a book on this, right?
Right.
Okay, so if people were interested in the book, how would they get a hold of you?
Right, so it's available on any online bookseller, so Amazon or Barnes & Noble, wherever. It's both digital and print. It's called The Debt Clear Roadmap, and we guarantee over 80% reduction in credit card debt if people follow the program from start to finish. But of course, you can get any degree of debt relief that you want. I not only teach people about debt relief, but about credit repair, asset protection, and fighting creditor harassment and lawsuits.
Cool, great.
Awesome.
All right, thank you so much, Michael, for
Thanks,
joining
Michael.
us in studio here.
Okay, you're welcome. Thanks,
All right.
guys.
Well, that was kind of interesting. Okay, we're going to cut to our first commercial break, running just a little bit late here. The theme is early U.S. history. After the Revolution, which war with England broke out in the early 1800s? So those rascals didn't learn their lesson. They decided to fight us again. The first 3 callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Their website is lighthouse4fun.com. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. After the Revolution, which war with England broke out in the early 1800s? 888-912-1190. Make sure to include your name, email address, speak slowly, spell out your email one letter at a time, and we'll be right back. Okay.